Covey, but did you know that graffiti artists can go to jail for up to 3 years? Today, I will be talking about graffiti, an art form more commonly found in the streets of cities. Most, if not all of us, like art in one shape or form, and graffiti is another art form that we should care about because art is a way of expressing who you are and what you feel to other people, usually without using words. In this speech, we will be covering the charges that graffiti artists can face, how graffiti is considered to be art, why it is worth protecting, and the changes in vandalism charges that we need to change. First of all, let's discuss the charges that graffiti artists can potentially face. As I said in the introduction, graffiti artists can go to prison for up to 3 years. But according to the Illinois General Assembly legislation, they state institutional vandalism is a Class 2 felony when damage to the property exceeds $500. This means that a graffiti artist can go to jail for up to 7 years, depending where and what they graffiti. Although there are 2 different types of graffiti, legal and illegal, within these groups there are real graffiti artists and there are rebellious kids who graffiti only for the thrill of doing something illegal. Despite the fact that some graffiti is illegal and unwanted, it is not worth 3 to 7 years in jail. Graffiti artists are people who want to leave their art in the world. They are not just gang members or rebel teenagers. They are artists who come to freely give their art to the world. Many graffiti artists will risk their lives to put their art in hard-to-reach places. Most graffiti artists take time to think about what they want to make and the purpose behind their art. Overall, graffiti is not something people should be going to jail for. It should be seen as a valuable art form. In the many categories of art, graffiti is considered to be one of them. According to Christian Campos in his book, 1,000 Ideas for Graffiti and Street Art Murals, Tags and More from Artists Around the World, graffiti artists are almost always totally self-taught on how to cover several feet of wall with paint. Campos also states, and I quote, "What is currently known as urban art includes spray-painted art," meaning graffiti is not only considered to be a valuable art form, but it is considered to be a real art form, worthy of protection. This can bring up the question of, if one art form is protected, why aren't all of them? One answer to why not all graffiti art is specifically is protected is because just about anyone can spray their name on a wall. A lot of people who make graffiti art aren't really artists at all. They're just people tagging their place on the wall before somebody else does. Real graffiti art is more than just a quick spray on a wall. Just as a kid can scribble on a piece of paper, somebody can scribble their name on a wall. Real art takes time and is a serious process. This is an example of people tagging their name or random words on a wall. As you can see, it doesn't look very nice. And here we have an example of an artist who took into account the area's architecture and spent a lot of time working on how he wanted the artwork to look from certain viewpoints. As you can see each face through each arc of the architecture. According to TED Talk, in their video, Street Art with a Message of Hope and Peace, one man named L. Seed uses his calligraphy skills to create graffiti that is not only meaningful, but is also beautiful. In his graffiti, he writes peaceful and inspiring messages in Arabic in places where people have asked him to create his art. One minaret, a place where Muslims are called to prayer, was there for about 18 years before somebody finally reached out and asked him to create some artwork there. He was met with happiness. and created this. He painted a verse from the Quran that said, "O humankind, we have created you from a male and female, and we made you people in a tribe, so you may know each other." How inspiring is that? Now he is able to travel the world and spread his messages of hope and peace through his graffiti. Some people, such as Celia Lerman in her article, Protecting Artistic Vandalism, Graffiti, and Copyright Law, go as far as to question if graffiti should be protected just as the historical artworks like the Mona Lisa are. Graffiti should be known as an art form, not just a form of vandalism, but since it can be considered vandalism, amazing graffiti artists can be thrown into jail for their art. Instead of jail time, other means of correction should be used. In the event that somebody is caught doing graffiti and their overall work is found to be unwanted in the particular area, community service or other means of correction can be used. Going to jail can be detrimental to a person's life. Illegal graffiti is considered a felony if a perpetrator is caught multiple times. And if the perpetrator has made graffiti on an institution, that can be considered a Class 2 felony, which can make you go to jail that can make that person go to jail for up to 7 years. According to Prison Policy Initiative in their article, Recidivism and Reentry, about 47% of people who were released in 2005 were rearrested within 3 years. People who go to prison have less of a likeliness of being admitted to a college or graduate school, making getting an education for a decent job just that much harder. If a person gets a felony, it will stay with them for the rest of their life, and it will affect where they are allowed to live and what jobs they are now limited to. Could you imagine doing graffiti and going to jail and you have a felony and now you are now limited to where you are allowed to work and where you are allowed to live? That sounds horrible, doesn't it? Because of the consequences that can follow going to jail, instead of a graffiti artist going to jail, they should instead be punished in other ways that will not be so harsh on a person's life, such as, doing community service. In conclusion, graffiti is not worth somebody's life being ruined. In fact, I believe very, very few crimes are. Graffiti has harsh consequences for something that is relatively harmless. There are people out there who believe that their whole purpose in life is to spread their art in the world and do an amazing job in doing so. They spread these amazing messages through their graffiti. Graffiti artists are not just a group of teenagers with spray paint. They're people who take time to develop their work and design it specifically for the place they want to paint. Graffiti can be used to help bring together communities and to share somebody's culture with the whole community. It is not worth going to